Hello, my friends. Let's start with Zelensky's response to Putin's statement that he is ready to end the war, but that certain issues need to be discussed.
Right now, we've all heard the very predictable and highly manipulative words coming from Russia in response to the idea of a ceasefire on the front. Putin is, in fact, preparing to reject it as of now. Of course, Putin is afraid to tell President Trump directly that he wants to continue this war and keep killing Ukrainians. So in Moscow, they are surrounding the idea of a ceasefire with so many preconditions that it will either fail completely or be delayed as long as possible. Putin often does this. He doesn't say no outright, but he acts in a way that stalls and makes any real resolution impossible. We believe that this is yet another example of Russian manipulation. There was an American proposal for an unconditional ceasefire in the air, at sea, and on the front lines. We in Ukraine accepted this proposal. From the American side, we heard that there is a willingness to organize monitoring and verification, and that this can be effectively ensured with American and European capabilities. The idea was to use the ceasefire period to prepare answers to all questions regarding long-term security and a real, reliable peace, putting a plan to end the war on the table. Ukraine is ready to work as quickly and constructively as possible. We have communicated this to American representatives, and our European partners are also aware, as are all our allies worldwide. We are not setting conditions that complicate things. Russia is, as we have always said, the only party that will stall the process, the only party that will be uncooperative, is Russia. They need this war. Putin has stolen years of peace and continues this war day after day.
However, we don't yet know the results of the negotiations between the US representative and Putin, so it's too early to draw conclusions. Trump, however, has said that things are going well and that he needs to meet with Putin to discuss all the details. I have received word that things are going well in Russia. I hope that Putin and others are ready to put an end to this nightmare. Putin has made a very promising statement. I hope to meet and talk with Putin. We hope that Russia will do the right thing. I am ready to talk with him. The topics of discussion include territorial matters and control over the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. We will soon see whether Russia agrees to the deal, and if not, that will be a very disappointing moment for the world. We have discussed with Ukraine the land, territories that will be preserved or lost, NATO membership and its implications have also been discussed, and everyone knows the answer to that. Honestly, that answer has been known for 40 years, so in reality, many details of the final agreement have already been discussed. The US and other countries are paying a high price for the Russia Ukraine war, so it must come to an end. I don't believe that Russia will attack other US allies. We will make sure that doesn't happen. I have leverage, but I don't want to talk about it now because we are currently in discussions, and judging by his statements today, they were quite positive, I think. As we can see, the negotiation process is gradually moving forward, and Trump has leverage over Putin, so it's likely that he will agree to a ceasefire. And the fact that today the Ukrainian side is trying to accuse Putin of refusing to stop the war is too hasty. I want to show you Putin's full statement, and he didn't make any specific demands there. He said that it would be difficult to control the ceasefire and that it's necessary to determine who and how will monitor the issue. Let's listen and discuss.
We agree with the proposals to cease hostilities, but we proceed from the fact that this cessation should lead to long-term peace and eliminate the root causes of this crisis. First of all, this concerns the border area in the Kursk region. What is happening there? The situation is completely under our control, and the group that entered our territory is isolated. They have only two options: surrender or perish. Under these conditions, it seems to me that for the Ukrainian side, it would be beneficial to achieve at least a 30-day truce. We agree, but there are nuances. What are they? First, what will we do with this incursion area in the Kursk region? If we stop hostilities for 30 days, does that mean that everyone there will be able to leave without a fight? Should we let them go after they have committed numerous crimes against civilians? Or will the Ukrainian leadership order them to lay down their arms and simply surrender? How will this be organized? It's unclear. And how will other issues be resolved along the entire contact line, which is almost 2,000 kilometers long? As you know, Russian troops are advancing in almost all combat areas, and there are also conditions for blocking large units there. How will these 30 days be used? For continued forced mobilization in Ukraine, for weapons supplies, for preparing new mobilized units? Or will none of this be done? Then the question arises, who will control the implementation of agreements? How will verification be organized? How will we be guaranteed that nothing like this will happen again? I hope that on a common sense level, everyone understands these are serious questions. Who will give the orders to cease hostilities? What is the value of these orders? Imagine almost 2,000 kilometers of the front line. Who will determine where and who violated the possible agreements? Who will blame whom for breaking these agreements? These are all issues that require thorough consideration by both sides. Therefore, the idea itself is correct, and we certainly support it, but there are aspects that need to be discussed. I think we need to talk with our American colleagues, perhaps call President Trump and discuss the situation with him. But the idea of ending this conflict by peaceful means is correct.
And here, in general, logical questions are raised. He said that even if Ukraine agrees to hold mobilization and arms supplies for 30 days, one key question remains: who and how will control the front line to ensure no one violates positions? And as we understand, the issue is being addressed. The US wants to take control of this process, and it's important to note that he had made this statement before a meeting with a US representative. Perhaps during this meeting, all the details will be laid out for Putin, and the US has had a plan for how this should be done for a long time. But it seems that Putin was more accommodating, while Trump immediately took action. Last night, it was announced that the US is resuming the supply of long-range missiles to Ukraine, as well as new sanctions against Russia. The US is resuming the supply of long-range GLSDB bombs to Ukraine. They allow for striking targets at a range of up to 161 kilometers. The Trump administration is introducing additional restrictions on the Russian oil and gas sector and banking sector. Due to Trump's actions, almost all major Russian banks, as well as the central bank and Moscow exchange, have been placed under full international blocking. Russian financial institutions that were previously exempt from sanctions included Внешэкономбанк, Financial Corporation, Открытие Банк, Совкомбанк, Сбербанк, VTB, Alfa-Bank, Rosbank, Bank Zenit, Bank St. Petersburg, and the Central Bank of Russia. No one, including European Union countries, will be able to buy Russian oil without the risk of secondary sanctions. As we can see, Trump is acting very quickly and is trying to push Putin towards stopping the war. We hope it works out. And it's very interesting that all these announcements appeared late in the evening. Therefore, there is speculation that the negotiations between the US representative and Putin went poorly, so Trump immediately decided to put pressure on Russia. We're still waiting for confirmation. Friends, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Also, today Trump said that he hasn't given anything to Russia. On the contrary, he is trying to put pressure on them.
That wouldn't have happened. I don't know if we would have had to give anything away regarding Crimea. As I've said before, Obama gave it away. Biden gave everything away. Bush gave away Georgia. But Trump nothing. I gave them, javelins, which turned out to be very effective. I didn't give them anything. And also, if you look, I stopped the gas pipeline to Europe.
Meanwhile, on the front line, due to the possibility of a ceasefire, activity is only increasing. Let's start with the Kursk direction. Here, the Russians have started advancing further into the Sumy region. This is very unfortunate because this wasn't supposed to happen. However, they managed to advance to the village of Basivka, covering a distance of 1 kilometer 800 meters. This brings them closer to the highway that the Ukrainian forces used to retreat from the Kursk region. At the same time, near the village of Huyevo, the Russians have indeed advanced to the border with Ukraine. This has been confirmed by the General Staff. The map hasn't been updated yet, so the situation continues to deteriorate. Now let's move straight to the Pokrovsk direction, where Russian forces are also not reducing their activity. Today they continue the attacks on Novoalexandrivka, Udachne and Kotline with ongoing battles for the village of Shevchenko. There are unofficial reports that the village of Shevchenko has been regained under the control of the Ukrainian forces. We're still waiting for official statements, but if this information is accurate, it means that the Ukrainian forces have advanced by 3 kilometers. Additionally, assaults continue in Chunishine, Dachinske, the village of Promень, Myrolюбівка, Yelizavetivka, and near the highway leading to Nova Poltavka. If we look at the geolocation maps, they haven't yet updated to reflect changes in the front line near Shevchenko. However, markers indicate that the Ukrainian forces are indeed present in the village, particularly near the dam. So, while we await confirmation, it appears that the situation here is unfolding in favor of the Ukrainian forces, which is certainly encouraging. However, a major issue today is that Russian forces continue bombing Pokrovsk and Myrnograd with guided aerial bombs. Late last night, reports indicated that the blast wave reached Dobropilla, and Pokrovsk is being systematically leveled to the ground. In the direction of Kurakhove, the Russians continue their attacks on Kotlerivka, assaulting Konstantinopel and Rozliv. So far, the Ukrainian forces have managed to repel all attacks here, although the number of offensive actions is increasing and Russian forces rush to secure positions at the borders of Donetsk region before a possible ceasefire. In the Zaporizhia direction, Russian forces continue their attacks on Novoandriivka, Pyatikhatki, and Kamensk. Shalin also remains ongoing. However, despite Russian claims of success in this area, there have been no confirmed changes along the front line. We're waiting to see if any updates emerge soon. In the Kherson direction, Russian forces continue shelling Kherson, but no new offensive actions have been reported. Over the past day, the front line remains unchanged. Now let's move on to the Toretsk direction. Here, Russian forces are assaulting Leonidivka, breaking through to Toretsk in an attempt to reclaim lost positions and also pushing through the fields near the village of Druzhba. However, over the past day, they have made no significant progress and the front line remains unchanged. In the area of Chasiv Yar, fighting continues in the central part of the city and shelling hasn't stopped. However, activity here has decreased for now as all Russian attacks have been repelled and the front line remains the same as before. In the Siversk direction, attacks continue on Bilogorivka, Verkhnyokamensky, and there are breakthroughs near Ivano-Darivka. Over the past day, there have been no changes, and the Ukrainian forces continue to repel all attacks. In the Liman direction, Russian forces are continuing the assaults on the villages of Kolodezi and Myrne. They're trying to break through to Liman as quickly as possible. It's crucial for them to seize this area, including Slovyansk, because it's rich in resources and the Russians understand this. However, despite earlier reports of significant successes in this area, they haven't made progress. The front line has remained unchanged for over a week now. In the Borova direction, Russian forces continue the attacks on Bohuslavka, but the activity is minimal, with only a few assaults over the past day, and they haven't achieved any success. Further south, attacks on Reykjavka continue, but all attacks have been repelled and the front line remains unchanged. In the Kupiansk direction, Russian forces are assaulting Petropavlivka and breaking through from Stepova Novoselivka. However, there have been no changes over the past day, and activity remains minimal here as well. For now, all Russian forces are concentrated on other directions. In the Kharkiv direction, shelling of Kharkiv continues, but no new assaults have been recorded along the front line. In Vovchansk, the fighting continues, although there have been no changes for an extended period of time. Meanwhile, despite the daily rhetoric from Russian propagandists calling for the destruction of Europe, Putin, on the contrary, stated that Russia is open to the return of European companies to the Russian market.
Our so-called partners have made a good vaccination for us, a vaccination of independence and sovereignty. Therefore, all our programs related to strengthening our technological sovereignty will undoubtedly continue. We have not closed off anyone and have not expelled anyone. Those who want to return, we say welcome, welcome at any time. But, of course, we will proceed based on the situation that exists today. If the niches are occupied, they are occupied. We will not create any preferences for the return of our people for anyone. Moreover, we will try, and such an instruction has already been given to the government within the framework of WTO norms, to provide certain advantages to our domestic producers.
As seen, due to the exit of European companies from Russia, new ones have arrived. Therefore, they don't have major problems with trade turnover. If European companies return, Putin will benefit further and see even more growth in the economy. Thus, once again, a ceasefire would work in Putin's favor. Indeed, after Lukashenko's statement about the potential consequences for Europe and Ukraine if the US and Russia reach an agreement, Putin tried to correct his position and reassured that Europe will receive cheap gas from Russia.
I would like to add to what Alexander Grigoryevich said about the pipeline for Europe. If the US and Russia agree on something, then yes, if the US and Russia reach an agreement on cooperation in energy, the gas pipeline for Europe could be secured, and this will benefit Europe.
As we can see, Putin is showing his willingness to engage in trade with Europe to further boost Russia's economy. Meanwhile, the statements by propagandists about destroying Europe sound rather absurd. Also, today Peskov commented on Zelensky's statement that Ukraine doesn't recognize the occupied territories as Russian.
Listen, Crimea, Sevastopol, Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Luhansk, these are regions of the Russian Federation. They are written in the Constitution of the Russian Federation. This is a given. As for potential positions, before these negotiations began, and they haven't started yet, let's not forget, it would be incorrect to stir up, so to speak, the heavens and talk about this publicly.
friends. Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.